Nearly 50 investigators from the NTSB are looking into the devastating collision of an American Airlines Flight 5342 and a Black Hawk helicopter.
Investigators did recover the plane's black boxes, which they hope contain a record of crucial flight details. The NTSB will look at staffing along with mechanics, environment, and other factors in their investigation. We are expecting a live update from the NTSB within the next hour.
As we continue to learn more about the investigation into the collision between an American Airlines passenger jet and a military helicopter, we want to get a better idea of how the military shares airspace with commercial planes.
So earlier today, I spoke with Major General David Johnson, the Assistant Adjutant General for Air in the Ohio Air National Guard. Major General, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
So with everything that happened earlier this week near D.C., we have the 180th, who is based here at Toledo Express Airport, where we have a lot of commercial flights that are coming in and out. So we just wanted to get an idea from you about how that all works, how that's all managed.
Sure, absolutely. First, I want to say just, my thoughts and prayers are with all the families and victims of this tragic event that just happened in our nation's capital. We continue to keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Flying in any environment, especially like DC and Toledo, which are busy airspaces, can be very complex, but inherently it is very safe. At the 180th, as customers of the airspace, we don't own the airspace. Toledo does, and the air traffic control, and we work with them very integrated on a day-to-day basis to ensure that the operations are very safe and very smooth. Again, we integrate as a military flying force with the civil aviation and commercial aviation that's going on every day. So by getting lots of reps and working together, we do have an established relationship, which helps ensure that we are operating safely at all times.
In the situation in near DC, it seemed like the Blackhawks needed to fly at a lower altitude than the planes. Is that sort of how it works here in Toledo, or is it a different system?
There's different systems throughout the country. And if you were to go to the West Coast, they have VFR, visual flight rule corridors, flight corridors along the coastline, similar to what they have in the DC area along the river. Again, it's a very congested airspace, and they're supposed to operate within those corridors. That can certainly change. Air traffic control has the ability to vector aircraft around to maintain safe distances. But typically, aircraft are assigned a specific altitude, and they are to adhere to that altitude. That helps ensure the safety, but you have a lot of airplanes in a very small airspace, very dense, so it makes it very complex.
Do you know if there's a special flight schedule for Toledo where the 180th flies at certain times to go around that traffic with Toledo Express?
There's really not a specific time frame. It's all integrated seamlessly. So you will file a flight plan, and there's times when, if it's a busy flight schedule, like if commercial traffic is heavy in the afternoons or the mornings, we can mitigate our flight schedule so we can get around that. It also helps us so we can get a little bit more attention in the pattern, and we're not interfering with everything else. But on any given day, we have an alert mission there at the 180th, and we work with the Toledo Express Airport. So they will help meter the traffic so that we can both function simultaneously. You may have a little bit of a delay, or they may have a little bit of a delay, but on a day-to-day basis, we function integrated all the time.
So there's a lot of communicating happening.
Absolutely. Not only during the flight operations, but prior to. So if we know that we have an exercise coming up, we will integrate, or we will work with the air traffic control to let them know so we can mitigate those busy schedules so we can operate safely.
One of the questions that some folks were asking were just about what the pilots could see in the helicopter, and well, why couldn't they see the plane? Can you kind of describe the conditions that pilots are working with inside these jets, these fighter jets, or inside the military helicopters?
Sure. Not being a helicopter pilot myself, I can't speak to exactly what they see. I have flown in helicopters before. Typically, they will have helmets on. The windows are such that you do have good visibility. But I can't specifically speak to what happened in the incident in DC, other than to say that there's a lot to track at any given time, especially when you have two airplanes operating close to the ground in close proximity to each other at night with a bunch of lights around. So there's a lot that can distract you at any given time. But as far as visibility inside a military airplane, it's quite good. And the same with a helicopter. I mean, there are certain blind spots that you may have, and you train and you know that environment, so you know where your blind spots are and you know how to mitigate that so you can operate safely.
Thank you so much for clarifying some things for us. As you said, this is a terrible tragedy that we're still trying to unpack and get to the bottom of. I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Take care. This is a story we will continue to follow into the days and weeks ahead as the investigation goes on.
Count on us for more updates here on air and online. Plus, be sure to have our WTOL 11 app downloaded so we can send alerts right to your phone.
And download WTOL 11 Plus on your smart TV. There we have exclusive content, including my interview with a retired military pilot describing the airspace at Ronald Reagan National Airport.